To episode 11, the final episode of the season, unfortunately, of the John Jay Boys Basketball Podcast. My name is Robert Seipp, and like I said, this is the final episode of the 2025-2026 season. Sad to see this season go, but it was a really good season. Our season has come to an end. We finished with a final record of 11-11. Our first time getting to 11 wins in more than 20 years. So that's pretty impressive. Something to be said for that. Certainly, we aren't satisfied or happy with just being a 500 program, but it is the best that we've done in more than 20 years. So there's certainly something to be said for that. And it's also our first home playoff game that we had hosted in more than 20 years, and we won the game. So definitely a really good season, definitely an accomplishment for sure. And just on a personal note, I have to say, just one of the most enjoyable seasons I've been a part of in a really long time. I probably personally needed it. I just had a rough personal season, just with some things going on in my personal life, and it's the beauty of being a part of a team and being a part of sports and being surrounded by players that care about you and are there for you even when they don't even know that they're there for you, and parents and just athletic staff. It was something that I think I certainly needed. I don't want to speak for my son Austin, but there were some tough times in the Seipp family this past season for sure. And to have this group and to be a part of this team was a really nice distraction, and just made me feel loved and felt wanted and felt just a part of something special. And it was successful on the basketball court. Like I had just said, we had won 11 games, first time that the program had done that in more than 20 years. We had hosted our first sectional playoff game, first time the program has done that in more than 20 years. And we won our first home playoff game, which I think is the first time we've done that in more than 30 years. Again, we're not satisfied with just being 11-11. And I'm not satisfied with this being my sixth year here, and finally being able to get to that accomplishment. Certainly, I'd hoped, that we could have gotten to that earlier. But with that being said, again, we had a great group of players, a great group of parents, a team that really worked well together. My two assistant coaches, Coach Betcher, Coach Procaccino, really were incredibly helpful, in this season being a success. Really couldn't have done it without those two guys, that's for sure. As well as our JV coach, Coach Mush, and our freshman coach, Coach Cesarine. So we really got just a wonderful group of coaches and players and parents that made this season really enjoyable. And like I said, from a personal standpoint, I really kind of needed it. But also from a program standpoint, we had gone through a couple of years where there were just some tough seasons. I mean, just some very difficult, grueling seasons where you know players weren't all pulling in the same direction, and parents weren't all pulling in the same direction, and a lot of finger pointing and blaming as to why we were losing. And it was frustrating to be a part of, and I really worked so hard the past 5 years in trying to stop the finger pointing and trying to get everybody just to push in the same direction, and just to try to get this program over the hump, and to the point where we're able to win double digit games, and we're able to win a sectional playoff game and host a sectional playoff game. And I really fought hard for the last 5 years to do that. And I got to be honest with you, I didn't do much at all this year. just because of some of the stuff going on in my personal life, and that's where being a part of team is so special because these guys, again, they probably didn't even know, but they just worked together and pushed together, and got to give again credit to the coaches, Coach Betcher and Coach Procacino, but also our captains, Michael Ferlivio, John Vaquel, Vince Popovic, were very instrumental as well as in just pushing everybody to work together and to be a team and to be unselfish. And I think I said it a couple times on this podcast. I said it a couple times to the guys during the season. They were almost too unselfish, in my opinion. They really were almost too unselfish. There were times where we needed some guys to sort of take the bull by the horns and just, force some shots or just be, aggressive getting to the rim or being aggressive and getting off their shots. And it was a real nice change of pace to see guys, default to, what, I'll make one extra pass as opposed to, to taking a shot that maybe is somewhat contested. It was just a really good group of players, and it made it a special year, and it made it a successful year. Lessons to anybody out there listening, whether you're in the sport of basketball or not, whether you're a high school sport or not. When players don't work together, and when parents don't work together, and when players and parents are selfish, and you let sort of your ego get in the way of what's going on, that probably works for golf, it probably works for tennis, it probably works for bowling, but it doesn't work for a team sport like basketball or soccer or football. You've got to have everybody pushing in the same direction and everybody being on the same page, whether they like it or not. Whether you like the play called, on the court or not, whether you like the defense run or not, whether you like the out of bounds play that we're running or not. We need everybody working to the very best of their ability, to make that a success. And that happened this year over and over and over again. So it was just an awesome season to be a part of. I wish we could have gone farther. Feel like we could have gone farther, but let's get into this final week here, and we'll sort of talk about the sectional games that we played. So we were an 8 seed going into sectionals, and we hosted the 9 seed Ketchum Storm, right? So we had played Ketchum three times during the regular season, beat them all 3 times. How tough is it to beat a team 3 times in a row? It's tough. How tough is it to beat your rival, in district rival, 3 times in a row? It's really tough. And then when all 3 of those games are by single digits, that tells you the games could go either way, right? um, all 4 of our games against Ketchum really could have gone either way. And we have so much respect for Ketchum. Obviously, my brother's the principal at Ketchum. Mike Pano is a fantastic coach at Ketchum. And he, I think, works pretty closely with Pat Mealy, the girls basketball coach. And I know he coaches baseball with Pat at Ketchum, a very successful baseball program that they have. So, Mike Pano does such a good job with the Ketchum team, and to be honest, preparing for this game, I overcoached my group because I was so worried about what Coach Pano was gonna, what he was gonna do, what he was gonna have up his sleeve, what he was saving for us for the 4th game. That I sort of over prepared our guys for absolutely every possible scenario that we could have faced. Ketchum just came out. They just played hard, and they just played some really good fundamental basketball. At the end of the first quarter, we were up 14-9, but at halftime, we were down 26-23. So we were down 3 points at halftime going into the halftime locker room. And again, after the first quarter, we were up 14-9, but we ran into some foul trouble. If I remember correctly, Austin Seipp, John Wilson, and Boston Smith? No. Austin Seipp, John Vaquel. I can't remember. We had three guys in foul trouble. So those three guys sat I know one of them was Austin. Those three, and I'm pretty sure one of them was John Wilson. He always seems to find himself in foul trouble, and I really have no idea how that happens. I never really see him committing fouls, but before you know it, Johnny Wilson's got two fouls called on him. It's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing. It's not funny at all. But long story short, we had some players in foul trouble in that second quarter, so I held him on the bench, and catch him. Kept creeping back, and I remember turning to Coach Betcher and Coach Procaccino at one point and saying to them, listen, I mean, these guys got two fouls. You guys okay with me keeping him on the bench? I said, we're winning. So I sort of want to just save him for the second half. And both, Procaccino and Betcher were like, yep, keep him right here. We're fine. We're going to be okay. Let's just get into the locker room, winning this game. And that didn't happen. We went into the locker room down by three. But that's okay. We regrouped and, just sort of talked about, some of the things that we needed to do offensively. I thought we were playing great defensively. Ketchum, had 26 points. And if you do the math, that's 52 points for the game. I think whenever you're holding a high school team under 60 points, you're doing a pretty good job defensively. So I thought we were doing a really good job defensively there in that first half. We played a lot of man, which is not typically what we do. A lot of times we mix in man and zone and some different types of zone defenses, but we played catch 'em primarily man just because we thought that was the best matchup for us, and we did a nice job defensively, except for that second quarter. They did score 17 points in the second quarter. They outscored us 17-9 in that second quarter. But the third quarter, we came back out and, we put our five starters back out there and nobody was in foul trouble, going into that third quarter with, just having a couple of guys with two fouls on them. And we played great. We played great in the third quarter. We won that third quarter 13-8. And we played well in the fourth quarter too. Couldn't quite put Ketchum away. We won the fourth quarter 16-11. But it was enough to win the game 52-46. So, just really our guys were excited. I was excited, that we had the opportunity to host that playoff game. And then on top of that, we made the most of our opportunity and we won that playoff game. So we were into the quarterfinals after beating Ketchum. Let me just give you some numbers, just to give you an idea of how we struggled offensively in this game. We shot 34% from the floor. Ketchum shot 39%. So I don't have that broken down in the first half and in the second half, but definitely at halftime, I could remember us talking about, what we were doing offensively, and it just wasn't good enough. Obviously, beating Ketchum 13-8 and 16-11 in the third and fourth quarters, we had turned it around, offensively for that second half. From 3-point range, we were 38%. Ketchum was only 15%. So, that's not typical of Ketchum. They're a really good shooting team. I think it's one of the things that they do best. So I got to give credit to our defense there, and especially the man defense that we went with. And that's kind of why we went man. We didn't want to go zone where they could sort of, find some gaps and find some open looks from 3-point range. So that's why we stayed in man all game long, because we really wanted to make sure that wherever they were on the court, that we were contesting every single shot. Because in my opinion, they're such a good shooting team. So to hold them to 15% from 3-point range was what was, I think, key for us. The other big stat that's always an issue for us is turnovers. And we had 16 turnovers for the game. Ketchum had 14 turnovers. But we did a nice job on the boards. On the boards, we had 38 rebounds, and Ketchum only had 23 rebounds. So we had a real big advantage in the paint. Austin Seipp, really, really good job going against Ketchum's big guys, especially Jarrell. Just really impressed with what Austin did defensively for us there. So that was... let me see. I've got Michael Ferlivio. Yeah, I'm just looking at the individual stats now here. Michael Ferlivio really had a good game. He had 21 points. He was 8 for 17 from the floor, 3 for 6 from 3 point range. He had a +7 for the game. Those plus minuses, I think, are always so important. Austin Seipp had a +17 for that Ketchum game. And then Johnny Wilson was a +12 for that Ketchum game. And I'm positive that both of those guys were on the bench in that second quarter in foul trouble. So just gives you an idea of what happened to us, when John and Austin were out of that game. But we put them back into the second half, and we're able to win that third and fourth quarter. So, like I said, Austin was a +17, Johnny Wilson was a +12, Boston Smith was a +11, Michael Ferlivio and John Vaquel were both +7s for the game. And it looks like, according to the stats here, Michael and John didn't come out of the game. They both played. They both played 32 minutes, which is pretty impressive. So that's the story for the Ketchum game. So when's the last time we beat Ketchum 4 times in a row in a season? Not too sure that's ever happened, right? And again, that's not because Ketchum is a weak team. All 4 games, single-digit games. And, Ketchum's got, again, they're a 9 seed, right? We're an 8 seed, they're a 9 seed. So it's not like, a 2 seed playing a 15 seed. This game could have gone either way. And just credit to our guys, even being down at halftime. We really did a nice job in the second half. So we win that first round game. So we're into the quarterfinals. We're the 8 seed. We are traveling to the number 1 seed Mamaroneck Tigers. So we lost to Mamaroneck 71-29 earlier in the season. Now that loss sounds a lot worse than it actually was, because Boston Smith didn't play in that game. He got hurt in warmups. So we were a little shorthanded during the regular season down there at Mamaroneck. And I think we were coming off just a tough stretch of games, and a bunch of traveling too. I think we had traveled to New Rochelle on a Wednesday and then Mamaroneck on a Friday. So it was just a long week for us. But nevertheless, you lose 71-29. You're in for a rough, outing the second time around. So we go down to the 1 seed Mamaroneck, and we played them tough. I really do think that we did. Spoiler alert: Mamaroneck's going to beat us in this quarterfinal game, and they're going to win the section. They just beat Mount Vernon in the finals by, I think, 17 or 18 points, something like that. So in the first quarter, Mamaroneck, at the end of the first quarter, Mamaroneck is up 15-11 on us. So we were sort of hanging in there, but they sort of pulled away in the second quarter. They beat us in the second quarter 13-8. So what did that put us down 9? That put us down 28-19 at halftime. So still single digits. So we were sort of hanging in there. But they had pulled away in the third quarter. They beat us 16-9, and in the fourth quarter they beat us 19-12. And in the end, Mamaroneck won the game 63-40. But I tell you, I told the guys I was so proud of them. I thought we really had given Mamaroneck, a run for the money. We had really, emptied the tank and sort of gave it everything that we possibly had. We shot 33% from the floor, and Mamaroneck shot 43%. We were only 19% from 3-point range, where they were 33%. So they were definitely knocking down their shots. We were 70% from the free throw line, only got there 10 times. They were 76% from the free throw line. They got there 25 times. And on the rebounding end, we had 25 rebounds. They had 26 rebounds. So that really wasn't too bad to sort of, be a wash on the boards. But turnovers, again, were an issue for us. We had 18 turnovers for the game. And Mamaroneck only had 10 turnovers. And we got called for 19 fouls, where Mamaroneck only got called for 9 fouls. So that was definitely an issue in the game. It's always tough going down to Westchester, and it's always tough playing the number 1 seed. I've refereed plenty of games in my day, and the last thing that you want to do, as a referee is, it's not that you're favoring the number one seed, but I mean, the last thing that you want to do is be the reason why the number one seed loses, and they are the number one seed. They're the number one seed for a reason. They're a very good basketball team. And as I just told you, spoiler alert, they beat us by 23 in the quarterfinals at Mamaroneck. And then in the semifinals, they beat Arlington by about 17 or 18 points at a neutral site, right? So think about that, right? We had played Arlington twice during the year. Both games, I think, were 5 points or less. So we were right there with Arlington. Arlington won the county championship. Well, they won the holiday tournament, over Christmas time. And Arlington was a 4 seed, and at a neutral site at the county center, Mamaroneck beat them by 17 or 18 points, something like that, and we lost to Mamaroneck at Mamaroneck by 23 points. So we were right there, but we were close, just not close enough, I guess, right? So Mamaroneck beats us by 23 points in the quarterfinals. They beat Arlington by 17, 18 points in the semifinals, and they beat Mount Vernon by 17 or 18 points in the finals. So Mamaroneck, listen, was clearly the best team all year long. There was no doubt about that. They were probably the best team last year too, but I think they got upset in the semis last year by New Rochelle. So I was happy to see Mamaroneck win it. They've got a really good coach, some really good guys on that team, and very deserving. And not that I wasn't rooting for Arlington, the Dutchess County representative, in the Final Four there, or Mount Vernon, who we had lost to during the regular season, but. Mamaroneck is going to be a tough out in that state tournament. So really pulling for Mamaroneck to do well, and hope that they can win the state title here. So we will see. But that was the story. So that loss ended our season at 11-11, and it was an emotional locker room for sure. Guys were upset and guys were sad, but I really tried to hit home just how proud I was of the players for the entire season. I mean, just all 22 games. Just there was very few times, if any, that I could remember guys pointing fingers at each other, pointing fingers at the coaches, pointing fingers at the referees. It was just a really, really nice season. And we had a lot of fun too. I mean, some of the practices were just were fun, and some of the bus rides, and just being a part of the team, and in the locker room before the games and at half times and after games. It was just a real special group to be a part of. So, like I said, I'm 56 years old, man. I've been coaching for at least 30 years, 35 years probably, right? And I've been doing it a long time, and this was really one of the more special groups that I had. And it was really nice to be a part of. So any of our players listening, thank you so much for such a wonderful season. And to all the parents, thank you so much for doing all that you did to make your sons such good kids and such good basketball players. I get it, driving all over to AAU practice and CYO practice and rec practice and games and tournaments, and it's exhausting, and it drains the wallet, that's for sure, from a parent standpoint. But really very appreciative of all the parents, of all the players on our team, my assistant coaches, Coach Betcher and Coach Procaccino. You two guys are the best, and we are hoping we will greatly miss our seniors, especially, my own personal son, Austin Seipp, is graduating. So that's, not only am I a coach, but I'm also a parent, but losing Austin and losing John Vaquel and losing Michael Ferlivio and Vince Popovic and Gabe Condi, our 5 seniors, is going to be tough. It's going to be a tough loss. But what I said to the guys in the locker room was, at the end of the Mamaroneck loss, that these 5 seniors have started this for us. They've started to dig us out of 20 plus years of not hosting a sectional, game, and 20 some odd years of not winning a home sectional game, and you know um, 20 some odd years of not getting to 11 wins. So I hope that this kickstarts the program to bigger and better things. We're losing a ton of talent. We're losing some great leaders. And again, the leadership, I think, on this team was so critically important because our chemistry was so good. And I give all the credit to our seniors and to our captains, especially Michael, John, and Vince. I thought that they just did such a good job of keeping guys together and keeping guys unselfish, and making sure that we just had a really good cohesive group that had some really good team chemistry, and it did. It's a team that I'm going to remember for a long time. But our hope is that this season can be a springboard, to bigger and better things for John Jay basketball going forward. We try to link it to the past. This year with the House of Noise, we bought a banner, we hung that banner up. Don't tell anybody, but I ordered 4 more banners that are even bigger than the banner that we have currently up in the gym. So my plan next year is to hang 4 banners up there that says House of Noise, bigger than the current banner that we've got, and trying to use that as a springboard for us to be better, and I personally am just hell bent on getting to that county center and winning a quarterfinal game, and getting to the county center so that we can get to the semifinals, and putting our program at the level of an Arlington and a Mount Vernon and a New Rochelle and a Mamaroneck and a North Rockland. So that certainly is our hope, but that is not going to come by just crossing our fingers and hoping for it. So I'm in the process of doing individual player evaluation. So every player that is returning on our varsity team this year, as well as the 4 guys that we pulled up from JV to make our sectional run. I wrote those 4 guys player evaluations as well, or I'm in the process of doing that. I haven't quite finished it. I hope to finish it in a couple of days, and I'll send it out. I think we had 14 guys on the roster. We're losing 5, right? So that's down to 9, but then we added 4. So that brings it up to 13. So 13 individual player evaluations that I'm writing, and just spending a lot of time on each individual player and what they need to work on, what my thoughts are, so that they can go back to their AAU program, or they can go to the summer leagues, and and really work on their game and get better, and come to us next November as better basketball players. And then on top of that, we do this with the soccer program, and we just don't with the basketball program. With the soccer program, we have a very extensive off-season program where we run stuff in the wintertime in the John Jay gym on Sundays, and then we run stuff in the summertime. We're in 2 summer leagues, as well as having outdoor practices for soccer. We're starting that with basketball as well. So in about a month, when the weather clears and the spring sports can get out onto the fields, and that gym opens up, in April and in May, and maybe even in early June, we'll see. I'm going to get that gym 2 or 3 times a week. I don't have dates yet. I don't have times yet. I'm hoping for it to be right after school. I'm hoping to invite, guys that are returning on the varsity team, the JV team, the freshman team, and I'm even hoping to invite junior high players. We've got to keep those guys separated, because when you do these off-season workouts, you have to stay separate. Guys from Van Wyck can't, be playing with guys from John Jay. It's just you're either modified or you're, a high school player. But the freshmen can play right alongside the returning varsity players. And so we hope to have some really good spring workouts, and we'll rent out the gym, hoping to get it from like 2:30 to 4, something like that. And the reason why I want it right after school is so that guys can, after school, go and work out for an hour or whatever, work on their game, work on, their post moves, work on their shooting technique, work on form shooting, work on, their dribbling skills or dribbling, especially with their left hand, just all the things that are going to make them better individual basketball players. And then they can go home, do some homework, eat some dinner, and then maybe at 6 or 6:30 or whatever, go to their AAU practice. Because I feel like if we have it, at 6 or 6:30 at night, that's going to conflict with some AAU practices. Of course, the opposite could be true. You could say, well, I do it right after school site because, I play baseball or I play lacrosse or I run track, so I can't do it right after school, but I can do it at like 6. I get it. I understand, but it's just going to be easier for me to do it right after school. So I think that's what we're going to do. And I think it's going to be easier to get the gym right after school. So that's what we're going to try to do. 2, 3 times a week, and do some spring workouts. And then I've reached out to 3 different summer leagues, and I'm trying to get us into 3 different summer leagues. I don't know if I'll get us into any. I may have 0 summer leagues that I get us into, but I've reached out to 3 different summer leagues, and I've asked, sort of begged, can we be a part of your summer league? And that's always dangerous to do because it's tough to get guys in the summer, right? Guys are on vacation, guys are at AAU tournaments, guys are working summer jobs. So sometimes it's tough to fill the roster for those summer league games. But I just feel like we have to capitalize on this momentum. Our freshman team had a good season. Our JV team had a good season, and our varsity team had, one of the best seasons that we've had in more than 20 years. So just trying to capitalize on this and get guys in the gym this spring, and get better, right? Because we didn't reach our goal of getting to the county center, right? We didn't reach our goal of winning the league. We didn't reach our goal of winning the section. And that is the goal. That is the standard that we're looking to accomplish. And the only way that that's going to happen is by us putting in the time, putting in the effort, and putting in the hard work. And that, part of it is these individual workouts, in the springtime. And then, same thing in the summertime, trying to get some gym time so where we can have some workouts and then go play in some summer leagues so that we can play together. And then I plan on doing the same thing in the fall. So I plan on having workouts in the fall. Fall is going to be different than the spring. Fall is going to be in the evening because we're going to be competing with volleyball, right? Volleyball has the gym right after school, usually until about 6 o'clock for practices. So our fall workouts will be, probably 6:30 to 8, maybe 7 to 8, 7 to 8:30, something like that. So we're trying to take this program, which it hasn't been in years, and turn it into a year-round program, very similar to what we do with the soccer program. The soccer program at John Jay is a year-round program. We have the season in the fall, we have winter workouts. We do take the spring off for soccer so that the guys can go and play club soccer, with their club teams. But then we get back together in the summer for summer leagues and summer workouts. We're looking to do the same thing here with basketball. We want to do some spring workouts. That'll primarily be individual based. It won't be a lot of scrimmaging. But I'll try to mix in some scrimmaging. I know players like that. I know that that's fun and enjoyable. But for me, the focus is going to be individual player development, individual skill development in those spring workouts. And then, some summer leagues, hopefully we could be a part of. And then back in the fall, again, doing some individual skill development work with the guys in the fall, so that when we come to next November, we just hit the ground running. Guys know, what the go-to post moves are. Guys know, they're clean with their form shooting. Guys know the basic offense. We won't spend too much time, but you're playing these summer league games. You can run a basic flex offense. You can have some basic out of bounds plays. You could do some fundamental things like waiting for screens, setting good screens, going shoulder to shoulder off screens. So that is the plan going forward, so that hopefully this senior group can springboard us to bigger and better things. And fingers crossed that at some point in the future, that house of noise can get us to the county center, and maybe someday we could put a league title up on the banner at John Jay, and maybe we can even put a sectional title. Maybe we can even be Mamaroneck. And again, I get it. Mamaroneck is really good. But we're not that far off, guys. We're really not that far off. Again, we lost to Mamaroneck by 23 at Mamaroneck. In the semifinals, they won by 17 or 18, and in the finals, they won by 17 or 18. Both of those at neutral sites, right? So we're right there. Listen, we're not Mamaroneck, and Mamaroneck, has a ton of seniors that they're going to be graduating. So do we. I get it. We're losing a good amount of talent too, but we're there. We're close. And again, the lesson of this season for me anyway is team chemistry and just, guys, all working together and not being selfish and not pointing fingers and just wanting to get better and wanting to do for the team, I think was a huge step forward for us. And, if we could take that, build on that, and just make our individual players better. And again, the what did I say? The 13 players, right? We've got 9 returning varsity players and then 4 that we're bringing up or that we brought up from JV. So I'll be writing 13 individual player evaluations. So those guys will get those individual player evaluations. They'll know what I'm looking for them to work on and to improve upon. And obviously their AAU coach may have some other thoughts, and I'm more than open to that, right? The better our players can get at all facets of the game, that's the idea here. That's going to make us, a much better basketball team come November. So that's the plan, folks. We are not giving up. We are not satisfied with the season that we just had. Right? It was sort of a historic season, one of the best seasons we've had in more than 20 years. But we are not satisfied. We're hell bent on winning that quarterfinal game and getting ourselves to the county center. And a big part of winning that quarterfinal game is playing that game at home. And that's tough to be one of the top 4 seeds in the section. It was not easy. Mamaroneck was the 1 seed this year. Mount Vernon was the 2 seed. North Rockland was the 3 seed. And Arlington was the 4 seed. All teams that we had lost to during the year. We didn't beat any of those teams. So we can't be satisfied with what we've accomplished. We got to keep working. We got to get better, and we've got some time to do that. And I love being a part of this team. I love coaching this team. It's an honor to be the coach of the John Jay Boys varsity basketball team. It really is, and I don't take that lightly. And I keep working hard to try to make our program as good as it possibly can be. So I'm really looking forward to next year. Really looking forward to getting these individual player evaluations out. Really looking forward to the spring workouts and the summer leagues and the fall workouts, and turning our program into a year-round program, and seeing if we can't make it a program that that is one of the best in the area. That's one of the top 4 in the section. So that's the goal, folks. Thanks again to all the players and the parents and the coaches that worked with me this year. Thanks to all of you for listening. I can't believe you're still listening to me. This is the 11th podcast that we've had. Thanks for listening to me all season long. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. And we'll continue this process. We'll do the podcast again next year. We'll keep you up to date on everything that's going on with John Jay basketball. We'll try to stay active on social media, and let you know when these workouts are taking place and when the summer leagues are taking place. And that's something that's open to everybody, right? You don't have to be a returning varsity player or a returning JV player. This is something that is open to anybody at John Jay. So if you wanted to, work out with the basketball team and you wanted to try out for the basketball team and you wanted to be a part of it, these workouts are open to all. Just like the podcast is. Anybody can listen. All right. So again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your support during the year. Really looking forward to next year. Congratulations to the seniors on a great season this year, and go Patriots. All right. Thanks again, everybody, for all your support and for listening. Take care.